What's it like to live as a female expat in Asia? How do I go to the toilet without peeing on my socks if it's a squat loo? And how do I go about making friends in a new place? Well, if those questions or any questions about being a female expat in Asia are of interest to you, it is great to have you with me. My name is Wendy, and for more than 3 decades, I've lived and worked in 5 different countries in Asia. And I still live and work in Asia, now in Thailand. And today I want to talk about that first topic, not just about peeing on your socks, but the difference in bathroom etiquette, to put it politely, between Asian cultures and Western cultures. Because if you've traveled to Asia or you know anything at all about Asian bathroom habits, you'll know that they're quite different to Western habits. And it's fair to say that throughout Asia, you will still encounter more traditional Asian style toilets. And sometimes it's a little bit confusing. So let's talk about some of the things that you need to know. And right at the end of this video, I'll share with you a hilarious but slightly humiliating story as to what happened to me back in the day in a bathroom that still to this day makes me blush. But in the meantime, let's have a look. So there's a few differences in bathroom etiquette between Asian culture and Western culture. And the most obvious one is the difference between a squat toilet, so where you're squatting down on all haunches, and what we would describe as a normal toilet, a Western toilet, so a seated toilet, a throne, if you will. And squat toilets come in different forms, but these days they're actually pretty standardized. They're still made of porcelain, unless you're somewhere up country. They're still made of porcelain. Usually there's a kind of a place where you can rest your feet on either side, but how does it all work? I mean, if there's no toilet paper, all of that sort of stuff, how does it actually work? What's going on? Let me share a few little tips for you that might make things just a little bit easier. So, firstly, why do Asian cultures still use squat toilets? And the answer may surprise you. It's not because they're not civilized. It's because in a lot of Asian cultures, the idea of sharing a surface around your genitals with somebody else, they actually find quite disgusting. They actually think it's quite dirty. They don't want to be touching their flesh on somewhere where someone else's flesh has been sitting, particularly if for that part of your body. So that's why squat toilets still exist. It's not because they don't know how to use Western toilets, because they prefer not to use a Western toilet. And that also is why you will see stickers and signs that remind people that if there is a Western toilet, they mustn't stand on it. Now, there's this perception from Westerners that, that's because they're dirty, they come from peasant stock and they don't know what they're doing, but that's not the case. The truth is they don't want to touch that. They don't want to touch that with their body. So they're not going to sit down on a Western toilet the way that we think is completely normal, because that's something we've been doing for centuries. They actually find it a bit disgusting. They're not squatting on the toilets because they're from the countryside. They're squatting on the toilet because they don't want to touch that part. So if you see those stickers, don't be like, oh, they don't know how to use a Western toilet. Yeah, they do. They just don't want to do that. So you're in a squat toilet. You've looked around for a Western toilet. You're in a truck stop somewhere, or you're in a place, even a nice place, a shopping mall, and you discover that they're all squat toilets. How are we going to operate that? Well, here's how you do it. The first thing as a lady, now, and this is the only time I've ever envied not being a man, honestly, is just not being able to pee against a tree. But the first thing you need to know as a lady is, even though your natural inclination is to face the door, don't face the door. Turn around and face the wall. That is tip number 1, because the way that these things are set up, if you are facing the door and you're down in position, when you squat down like that, it's actually very good for emptying your bladder or your bowel. It's actually a natural way. Like once upon a time, we used to give birth that way, right? Squatting down on the floor, and maybe some people still do. So when you're down in that position, there's a lot of pressure on your nether bits, and whatever's going to come out is coming out fast, all right? So they are built in such a way that if you're facing the door, actually what's going to happen to you is you're going to get a lot of splashback. That all of the liquids that are exiting your body are going to hit that porcelain and come flying right back at you. So you don't actually want to face the door. They are designed in such a way that you're actually meant to be facing the wall. I have made that mistake myself a few times until I was like, that's how it was. I actually asked somebody, I'm like, do you face the door or do you face the wall? They said, no, of course you face the wall, because it's they're built in such a way that it's a deeper basin there. So tip number one, go against your instinct and face the wall, all right? Don't face the door. If there isn't a lock on the door, and that doesn't happen very much, but if there isn't a lock on the door, there's sort of things that you can do, like you can, put a shoe up against the door, something like that. Which brings us to the next point, actually, which is what to do with your bags and things. Now, these areas can be quite wet. Don't leave your bag on the floor, for God's sake. Don't leave your phone on the floor. Don't leave anything on the floor. Try and get it as high as you can. Usually there'll be a hook. There might be, if you're lucky and there is loo paper, you can try and rest it on top of the loo paper holder, something like that. But get everything off the floor. And in the same way, you've got to get down on your haunches and you've got to squat. And if squatting is not your favorite thing, and I totally get that because it's difficult, then you're going to have to practice and do your best. Get as much of your clothing away from your body as you can, because I can assure you that if you're not accustomed to using a squat toilet, things are going to get wet. It can get messy. So if you've got a skirt on, hoik it right up or take it off. If you've got jeans on or shorts on, you might have to take it off. If you've got socks on and shoes on that you don't want to pee on, take them off and get them away. Get them as far away from what's about to happen as you can, because I promise you, I cannot tell you the number of times I have peed on my socks, even after more than 3 decades living in Asia. Obviously, I'm not always using a squat toilet, but I can assure you that I have peed on my socks more times than I am care to actually admit, because I just didn't get things out of the way. So if you've got a dress, lift it up, hoik it under your boobs or under your neck. Get as many things as you can away from the wet zone, alrighty? The other thing is too, obviously you're going to need balance. Now, like I said, squat toilets, getting into a squat, not always comfortable, particularly women of a certain age, such as myself. Sometimes it can be hard. Use the walls to hold on to your knees as you're squatting to get down there. Do whatever you can to keep balance, because the last thing you want to do, and this comes to the story that I'm going to tell you at the end of the video, and the last thing you want to do is have to get your foot in a place that you don't want your foot to be in. So you've done your business, you've done the squat, you're looking around, there's no loo paper. Now, one thing I meant to mention, a lot of bathrooms, you'll find a central toilet paper dispenser before you actually go into the stall. It might be near where you wash your hands and things like that. Remember to grab the loo paper there, carry tissues, carry wet wipes. So you're looking around, you don't have tissues, you don't have wet wipes, you didn't see any toilet paper on the way through, but what there is either a bum gun, that's the nickname for it, a bum gun, in countries like Thailand or Vietnam, or you might even see a bucket, like a little bucket, a hand bucket, and a pail maybe, and some water. How does that all work? Okay, something else that is a little bit different between Western bathroom customs and Eastern bathroom customs. Firstly, I've spoken in another video about this. You must only ever use your left hand for what's about to happen, okay? So if you've got the bucket, you're going to use your dominant hand, and even if you are a left-handed person, might I encourage you to use your right hand. You're going to put water into your left hand, and you're going to go down there and wash with your left hand. Remember, it is you eat with your right hand and you clean with your left hand. That's the same if you're in India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or even Myanmar, any of those countries where you're going to have food that's commonly eaten with the hands. You're eating with your right hand, not with your left, because you're cleaning yourself with your left. So get some water in there, go down, have a bit of a splash around, get some water there, have a bit of a splash around. Please keep the same hygiene rules that you would as a Westerner, front to back, ladies, front to back. You don't want any fecal matter coming forward and giving you infections, UTIs, anything like that. So it's always front to back. I know it sounds very complicated, but literally more than 2 billion people use the bathroom this way. You can do it too. So front to back, and that's the same with the bum gun. All right, when you're squatting with the bum gun, as tempting as it is to go that way, don't go that way, go this way. That's why you might have your knickers off, because if you can't see everything, or you're in a squat position, trust me, you will spray yourself. All right, but you'll get the hang of it if you keep trying. So front to back, left hand only, cleaning. So even if you do have toilet paper, this is where this comes in. Because in Eastern cultures, the idea of just cleaning yourself with paper, they also find a little bit revolting. Now, that's what we do. Remember through COVID when everybody was storing toilet paper? It wasn't an issue. I was in Thailand, everything was fine because toilet paper is used for drying. It's not used for cleaning. That's what the toilet paper is for. It's for drying yourself after you're clean, which is why you'll often find buckets in the bathrooms, like other kind of, or baskets, I should say, baskets where you put the toilet paper. Now you might think, oh, that's revolting. Why would you put that dirty toilet paper in there? It's not dirty. It's only been used for drying. That's the whole point. So a lot of places don't have great plumbing in some of the countryside areas, or even in some cities as well. The plumbing and drainage is not designed to take toilet paper. So what you're putting in effect into that basket isn't actually, dirty stuff. It's paper that's been used as a drying mechanism for afterwards. And which is why that the ladies who clean the toilets will come along and clean up the basket. They don't have to worry about it too much because there's nothing revolting in there. I mean, if you've got a sanitary napkin in there, we're all grown-ups. We can all deal with that. But that's actually why the toilet paper is there. It's actually there to dry you up, not to clean you up. And that is one of the other differences. Okay. So remember, left hand for cleaning, right hand for eating, drying off with the tissue. And then what you should do really is use some hand sanitizer. Try and keep some hand sanitizer or then a baby wipe with yourself and make sure that you clean yourself up that way. I think that's pretty important, just to make sure that everything's nice and neat and tidy. Now, a couple of little reminders for you. In a country like Singapore, which is incredibly first world, better than a lot of Western countries I've been to, I assure you, if you don't flush the loo, there's a fine for that. You can actually get into trouble in Singapore. Singapore's pretty strict. So make sure you flush the loo afterwards. How do you flush the loo if there's no flushy thing? That happens as well. You use that bucket and make gravity do the work for you. So you scoop up the excess water, dump it in there, scoop it up, dump it in there, and it all kind of flushes through as well. Make sure you remember to flush the toilet. Okay, time for my horrifying but true story. So here it is. Back in the day, 1988, I was actually living in Singapore but had come up to Bangkok, and I was about 7.5 months pregnant and got off. I actually came by train, so got off the train in Bangkok train station back in the day, and a pregnant woman, I've been on a train, I needed the loo. So I went to the loo, and sure enough, there's the stalls and there's the squats, and there we are. So, all right, can do that. Got my knickers away as much as I could, got down into the squat position. But being so heavily pregnant, when I got into the squat, I actually locked in place. I could not get myself out of the squat. So I was in there, my belly was kind of over, and I was stuck, and the walls were beside me, but for the life of me, I couldn't get the grip and I couldn't get up. Back in the day, there were gaps between the doors. So I sort of knocked on the door on this side, and I knocked on the door, not on the wall, sorry, and I knocked on the wall on that side, and eventually a head popped around. There I am in all my glory with no underwear on, a 7.5 month belly, and I'm locked in a squat position above a toilet. And I saw this face come over under, and she could see that there was a problem. She stuck a hand around, undid the door for me. She came in, and it took 2 women to get me either side and to lift me up out of the squat. And I'm blushing now. I was so embarrassed. But that's what happens, all grist for the mill, all part of the charm. So if you do get yourself caught into a squat, don't worry, you won't be the first person to have had some humiliation in an Asian bathroom. Anyway, everything was fine after that. I went out and then told my then partner how embarrassed I can feel myself going red, how embarrassed I was, and I survived it, we survived it. So I hope that clears up a few things for you, how to use a squat. Remember to face the wall. Remember to get some tissue. Remember the tissue is for drying, not for cleaning. I wish you all the best in it. And if you have any questions about anything else about being a female expat in Asia, or you've got a comment, perhaps you've got a funny story yourself of an awkward situation. Do feel free to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much to the more than 160 new subscribers I've had in the last couple of weeks. I love you, I love you, I love you. It all helps the algorithm. I hope you have yourself a great day, and we'll speak again soon. Bye.